In 2015, after almost 2 decades done anime, Dragon Ball Super began to air weekly until March of 2018. Ever since the Super anime ended, we've heard rumors for years regarding it coming back. In addition to those rumors, people have been clamoring for more animated Dragon Ball to return, primarily hoping to see the arcs from the manga in an animated format that have taken place as the Super anime's original ending. In 2022, we started hearing rumors from more relevant members of the online Dragon Ball community about a web anime that was in production. Naturally, this was met with a lot of skepticism. Then rumors dropped about the plot and name of this web anime, with the working name being Dragon Ball Magic. Then, on October 13th, 2023, Dragon Ball Daima was announced with a reveal trailer, and now we know we will likely be getting a new Dragon Ball anime sometime in the fall of 2024, with the October time slot seeming most likely. This garnered a mixed reaction with a lot of controversy, but the controversy Dragon Ball Daima has invoked is a topic for another video entirely. Numerous people are already dismissing Daima as bad and a waste of time simply based on what little of it we have seen thus far. My goal here today is to discuss why Dragon Ball Daima could be great and why it deserves a chance. In the past 6 years since Dragon Ball Super's end, we have gotten 3 different iterations of Dragon Ball content: the DBS manga, DBS Broly, and DBS Superhero. The issue with the latter two is that 90-minute movies spread years apart can only satiate people's appetite for more Dragon Ball so much. The Dragon Ball Super manga is monthly and not weekly, meaning the wait is longer than the average manga series, and all of 2023 featured no new Dragon Ball content due to the Superhero adaptation, which recently just wrapped up. When the Dragon Ball Super anime ended, it left a void and people have been clamoring for a new anime ever since, though many wanted that to be a Dragon Ball Super continuation. But from one perspective, getting new, never-before-seen Dragon Ball content, when taking into account that Dragon Ball Super will probably return eventually anyways, is a plus. Otherwise, we'd still be left waiting with no anime at all. Bashing a project with as little insight as we have on Dragon Ball Daima, and just assuming it'll be bad can be such a negative attitude to have. With Dragon Ball Daima, we get new weekly Dragon Ball for the first time since the Dragon Ball Super anime ended in 2018. A potential 24-episode anime that we get weekly, though we don't have an established episode count yet, can provide us with so much more content to enjoy and discuss than any 90-minute movie can, and definitely more than if no new story was being told at all. Daima could actually be a genuinely good story in anime, or it might not be. I'm just being realistic here. So why not approach it with cautious optimism instead of with resolute pessimism? The next point to discuss is Akira Toriyama's involvement in the project. In most modern Dragon Ball projects, Toriyama's name is attached to it regardless. It's attached to all the new movies and the Dragon Ball Super anime and manga. But one of the glaring issues that plagued the DBS anime was actually Toriyama's limited involvement. It's been pretty well known for a while that Toriyama didn't do much in the way of writing detailed stories for the anime. Essentially, he wrote an outline of the story that was to take place with key events noted and what needs to happen, and provided some character designs along the way. After providing these brief outlines and story notes, the anime was pretty much left to fill in all the gaps themselves. Essentially, at that point, the writers and the animation staff for the anime were left to fill in the void along the way. With so little to work on and so little to go off of, this caused lots of issues for the storytelling and writing aspect of Dragon Ball Super anime. That's one of the major factors in the NBS anime and manga being so different in certain stages of their arcs. Though they end up in the same place at the end, the way they got there greatly varied. An example of Toriyama's limited involvement is that Toriyama reportedly only designed 3 of the 10 Pride Troopers for the anime and manga's Universal Survival Arc, otherwise known as the Tournament of Power. These 3 members of the Pride Troopers that he designed were Jiren, Toppo, and Dispo, clearly the main 3 of that group, as the other 7 were left to be designed by the anime staff / Toro Taro. In the message from Toriyama that was promoted along with Daima's announcement, he himself said he's putting a lot more effort into this new series than usual, specifically noting his work on the story, settings, and designs. Notable individuals in the Dragon Ball community who leaked info prior to Daima being officially revealed have also reported he is much more involved. His involvement in the series doesn't automatically equate to the quality of the series and storytelling being great. Toriyama has fallen short with some of his writing in the past, but his consistent involvement and supervision can eliminate the too many cooks in the kitchen issue that has caused so many issues in modern Dragon Ball, with constant inconsistencies and contradicting events that we've seen. Having one person write and supervise the development of the story can make things much more cohesive and lead to a more consistent product, though knowing Toriyama, he will probably find a thing or two to retcon. I personally feel that his significantly increased involvement indicates this may be a story and project he's a lot more passionate about than some of the other modern Dragon Ball stories we've seen, which is a bonus and provides a lot more to the credence that Daima could be a worthwhile watch after all. Dragon Ball has been plagued with a lot of bad content for the past decade as it's failed to live up to the quality of its predecessor Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, but that doesn't mean we should deem a series awful or a waste of time when we've barely seen any footage of it to begin with. Though some of Toriyama's modern stories have not been well received, mainly things such as Resurrection F and Dragon Ball Minus, that doesn't automatically mean that Daima itself will be bad. That's why I think it deserves a chance, especially considering how hard everyone seems to be working on it. Another key aspect of Daima that I believe works greatly in its favor will be the direction the series is taking with its art and animation. One of the most notable plots of Dragon Ball Super was its art direction and character design. The character designs that define Tadayoshi Yamamura's modern style leaves a lot to be desired. At times, Dragon Ball Super's art animation was far from desirable and it turned many people off to the series. This issue is most notable in its earliest arcs. But with the arrival of Dragon Ball Super Broly in 2018, Dragon Ball has seen an overhaul in its artistic approach with Naohiro Shintani serving as animation director and character designer for the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, which is heavily praised for its visuals. For Dragon Ball Super Superhero, while it took a vastly different approach than Broly by using CGI, it was generally well regarded with how it looked. Some reports and leakers have already tied some big names on the animation side at Toei Animation to this project. Animators that worked on both the Dragon Ball Super anime, Dragon Ball Super Broly, and Dragon Ball Super Superhero are supposed to be involved. Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru is said to be character designer. Nakatsuru has been tied to Dragon Ball for decades as he did character designs for some of the old Dragon Ball Z movies. He also did the opening 2D animation sequence at the beginning of Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which was also heavily praised. Going by current reports and the small bit of footage we've seen from Daima, it's shaping up to be a beautifully animated show that will excel where Dragon Ball Super failed. That aspect alone has me excited and should excite many that Dragon Ball animations are being provided with so much effort and attention to ensure that the product itself looks great, unlike many of the things that we received in the past. For the entirety of the Dragon Ball Super anime's run, it was ahead of the manga. This itself is pretty unheard of in the industry as most animes adapt an already existing manga. But with the DBS manga being monthly and moving at a slower pace, the anime got well ahead of it. At one point, the anime was in the tournament of power while the manga was still dealing with the future Trunks arc. One of the most fun aspects of watching the weekly Dragon Ball Super anime was that we had no idea what would happen. With the manga being further behind, we had no source material to refer towards to see what would happen in the future like you can do with so many other anime. During the Goku Black arc, one thing that had the community talking and having so much fun every week was not knowing who Goku Black was or what his objective happened to be. So many theories were put forward about his identity. One prevalent one that was joked about a lot was Goten Black, a future evil Goten, though obviously that theory never had any credibility. Another example of this was the Ultra Instinct reveal. The design of Ultra Instinct was revealed weeks in advance of the episode actually airing with no context behind it. No information about the form's name or nature of it were revealed beforehand, so there was constant speculation until we saw Ultra Instinct's debut in Dragon Ball Super episode 110. The working name the community gave it was Limit Breaker Goku. With no manga and no knowledge of what comes next, Dragon Ball Daima can emulate the thrilling experience of the community's theory crafting, speculation, discussion that encapsulated so much of Dragon Ball Super's weekly experience. This was one of the most fun aspects of Dragon Ball Super airing weekly. Theories, predictions, and discussion were rampant on what might occur next episode, and it had the community so engaged and involved on a weekly basis. Dragon Ball Daima is the perfect chance for this to happen again. As of right now, as of this recording, Dragon Ball Daima has no manga counterpart, and there's been no reports about it to receive a manga adaptation. Though such a thing is possible, and this could change before it actually begins airing, I personally hope it stays anime only and it isn't given the superhero treatment where the manga adapts it as well. Having it be anime exclusive, at least to begin with, can contribute so much to the enjoyment factor due to the essence of not knowing what may happen next. Dragon Ball Daima may not be a continuation of Dragon Ball Super, which so many hope for, and the nature of its story and plot may not thrill many, though we still have limited information regarding the plot to begin with. But as with any form of media, it can surpass expectations and turn out to be a great and worthwhile experience. For the points I laid out here today, I personally am excited for the prospect of what it could be and can't wait for it to arrive later this year. And as I continue to see negativity around the show and when it arrives, and many people not looking forward to it and already deeming it a horrible waste of time, I implore those to actually give it a chance. Dragon Ball has succeeded and excelled many times in the past, and though it has disappointed many times in the past also, people recently have been excited with the nature of Dragon Ball and the direction it's going. I personally am excited for what Dragon Ball Daima can and may be. Though it would be naive to assume that Dragon Ball Daima will just be great, I think it would also be naive to assume that it's going to be horrible. When you know it's a little bit of product with limited information about Dragon Ball Daima that we have, it's a little premature to begin assuming that it's automatically going to be bad. And while it's also wrong to assume that it could be great, as Dragon Ball has let us down many times in the last couple of years, there's a lot to look forward to regarding Dragon Ball. Not only with the release of Dragon Ball Daima, but the Dragon Ball Super manga also getting out of the superhero adaptation arc with new material there as well. Also with Sparking Zero, the highly anticipated Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi 4 game, also over the horizon, 2024 has the chance to be a great year for Dragon Ball. But if we continue to stir up so much negativity just because we didn't get what we want, that's only going to set us up for failure. Keeping our mind open and being open to the unknown is what enables us to be able to enjoy things we otherwise thought we wouldn't enjoy. There have been times in my life where I've taken something at face value and surface level and automatically made the assumption that I wouldn't like it based on the limited information that I had read regarding it, such as a synopsis I found online. And there have been times when I've made that mistake and been pleasantly surprised with the product that I happen to read or watch. Whether it be an anime, a TV show, a movie, or a book, There's always times where something can catch you off guard and surprise you. A personal example of that is Dragon Ball Superhero. The moment I found out that it was going to be CGI, I automatically assumed that it may not be as good as I was hoping for it to be. The reason I made that assumption was that the most recent movie we had gotten to that point was Dragon Ball Super Broly, which was almost all 2D animation with some CGI sprinkled in, and I absolutely loved the way that movie looked. And when I found out we were going a completely different direction with Dragon Ball Superhero than we did with Dragon Ball Super Broly, especially with it being CGI, which was very controversial when everybody found that out, I was kind of disappointed because I wanted the movie to follow the same path Dragon Ball Super Broly did because of how much I loved that movie. And though Dragon Ball Superhero wasn't perfect, and there were times I didn't like the way it looked, I can say that I was pleasantly surprised and very much enjoyed that film. I can say that the CGI and 3D elements of Dragon Ball Superhero made for a fun and new way to experience Dragon Ball. And though there are still many unknowns pertaining to Dragon Ball Daima, I for one am excited for how good it could be.